Hi there and welcome to Real Life in Real Estate. I'm Mark Peebles, here to help you live your best life and achieve ultimate success. As you probably have noticed, over the last few weeks, we've had some guests on, and this has been a lot of fun, including the last episode where I was the guest, and producer Natalie came in and took over the show and asked me a lot of the questions that I've been asking guests lately. That was a ton of fun. Go back and listen to that. You'll learn a lot more about me in that and my business, but I am solo today. We do have some amazing guests coming up. I've got some national speakers coming in that are practicing real estate. I've got a good friend of mine out of New England that I met years ago at a Floyd Wickman conference, and just awesome. He's going to share so much wisdom. We have some great people coming up here in the near future, so be watching for that. But today I wanted to go solo, and I just want to talk to you about managing your business. You know, one of the things that we've been working on is this Ultimate Success Framework. This is an entire training framework to help you make $100,000 a year. And if you're out there and you're already making $100,000 a year, I want to help you take it to the next level. I want to help get you to where you're making $200,000 or $300,000 a year. And so we've been working through the Ultimate Success Framework. That's going to launch in September. It's going to have like 7 modules with multiple lessons in each module, a workbook to go with it. It's going to be awesome. But one of the things that I'm going to be teaching in there is the concept of the success pyramid. And a big part of that is the core calendar. And so those are kind of the things I wanted to introduce you to today as I'm going solo. So let's start off. Let's talk about what the success pyramid is. When I talk about that, this is about how you are managing your most valuable asset. Now, I know what you're thinking. You're probably thinking, okay, my most valuable asset, that's my income. Yes, your income is one of your most valuable assets, but I believe your most valuable asset, the asset that you have that if you manage it well, you'll have more income, is your time. So really, if we want to look at it, it's all about how you manage your time and how you manage your relationships. That leads to greater income. But today we're going to focus in on time and what I call the success pyramid. Now, the base of the success pyramid is the core calendar. This is where you are planning your time. It's the foundation of your month and really the foundation of each week in the month. And so it's this base of the pyramid. If you are going to build a solid foundation, it all starts with the core calendar. Then into your core calendar, you're plugging in that middle layer. The middle layer of that is what I call the 4 work modes. I'm not going to get completely into the 4 work modes today, but as agents, we all have different modes of work that we need to be in at different times if we're going to be effective in our business. So those 4 work modes are the connective work mode. That's where you're connecting with people to generate opportunities to perform, which is the second work mode. That is the performance work mode. That's where you're actually in front of the clients, whether it is listing presentations, buyer presentations, or showings. Those are opportunities that are going to directly lead to income. The third work mode is deep work. That is uninterrupted time, no distractions, whereas, performance work, connective work, there's distraction in that, right? If you're using this phone, it's a very distractive device, and if you're texting people, they're going to text back. There's things that happen during those work modes that are a little bit distracting, but a deep work mode, which is based on the book by Cal Newport called Deep Work, great book, really enjoyed that one. That work mode is focused. You have no distractions. You're even shutting this stupid thing off. I mean, it's amazing. This is so important to our business, but but it's also our biggest distraction. So in deep work, you're shutting this off, you are tucking yourself away, and you are completely focused on things that are going to go into your connective work, that are going to go into your performance work. You're working on, being a better agent. So you're getting education, you're getting training during deep work. You're also doing things like preparing your marketing. I've talked on the show in the past about the consistent, systematic relationship building framework. You're working on the content that you need to build relationships, and you need to do this completely undistracted and focused. And so that's the deep work mode. The last mode we plug into our calendar, the work mode that we plug into our calendar, is essential work. Let's face it, in this business, there are things that are essential, right? So like I'm going to come out of this recording time today, and when I come out of the recording time, I'm going to have probably 15 or 20 text messages that I need to respond to. I'm going to have endless emails. There's always endless emails that are hitting my inbox. I need to respond to those because when you are in a transactional business like real estate, you have things that have to be taken care of. Title companies need information. Lenders need things. Your clients need things. You've got defect notices. Well, we call them defect notices in our market, where we do inspections and then submit a defect notice. We used to call them post-inspection agreements or repair requests, right? You have to go through these things with your client, and it's essential to your business, right? So during that essential work time, you're doing the things that must be done to provide great customer service. All right, so the 4 work modes: connective work, performance work, deep work, and essential work. Now, as we look at our calendar, right, we're going to lay all of those things in there. So we've got this foundation that we call the core calendar. We plug in our 4 work modes. But then what do we do in each work mode? These don't go directly on the calendar as you're planning, but what we do in each work mode are what I call the high fives, right? So within each work mode, there are 5 things that we focus on every day, or every time we have that work mode on the calendar. We are focusing on these 5 things to ensure that we are most productive. So those are called the high fives. I'm not going into the high fives today. I want to focus in a little bit more on what goes into the core calendar so that you can begin to plan. Now, as we lay things out, as we look at how we manage our time, I believe you need to lay out your core calendar the month before you are actually executing on your core calendar. So why is that? Well, because once you are into the month, it's too late. You've already started scheduling appointments. You already scheduled a performance appointment during your deep work time, right? And so I think the best way to manage your calendar is 1 month in advance, and then make weekly adjustments as you move through the month. But here's what needs to really be on the core calendar. I've talked about the 4 work modes, but it's not just about the 4 work modes. That's because there's more important things than work. Okay, so we start off our core calendar every month. When I sit down to do my core calendar, the first thing that goes on the core calendar is my personal and family appointments. I'll tell you a little bit of a side note. Like my daughter, this was one of the things that is going on my core calendar. My daughter, I coach her high school basketball team. I've talked about that on the show in the past. And in coaching her high school basketball team, that's definitely on my core calendar, all of those practices and everything that happened during the basketball season. But this week, we had her start with a special trainer. As girls age, I'm not going to get into the science of this, but as girls age, they are more susceptible, especially as they get into high school and their body development, they're more susceptible to injury. And so as Ellie is growing, I don't want her to get injured. I want her to be stronger. I want her to be faster, and I want to help prevent injury. So we put her in with a special coach this week that is going to begin doing those things, a special trainer. Well, I want to be present for some of those those trainings, right? I want to get to watch what she's doing so that I can learn. It'll help me when I start coaching to work with some of the other girls on some of these things. But what I've done is in my core calendar, I've taken the appointments that I want to be able to attend that happen during the day when I'm normally doing business, and I've put them into my calendar first. Why is that? Because now that's an appointment. I'm going to be with my daughter, and that is an appointment. When someone calls me and says, hey, can you do something at noon tomorrow? I can say, I'm sorry, I have an appointment. Now, you might be like, yeah, but that's not really a business-related appointment. It's not, but it's the most important appointment because, at the end of the day, my daughter doesn't care how much I work. I mean, yes, she likes the fruit of my labor, but she's going to appreciate my presence in her life more than anything. And so that's an appointment that goes on my calendar. I didn't come to that realization until about 6 or 7 years ago that I could tell someone that I have an appointment when I'm in something family related or I'm on a date night with my wife. I had, up to that point, been a yes man. I would say yes to whatever, and then I would shift family stuff or even miss family stuff because I needed to take that appointment. But when you tell a client, hey, listen, I can't do it tomorrow evening, I have an appointment. When you tell someone that, they actually don't go, well, is that just a family thing, right? They don't care. But you need to value that time with your family, the most important people in your life. If you're not married, who are the most important people in your life? And when you schedule something with them, then that becomes an appointment and something that needs to be kept where that person or your family has your undivided attention. And so never feel guilty about scheduling those appointments first. Lay those out on your calendar in advance as much as you know. So I can tell you, like when this fall, my daughter will run some cross country this fall. When those meets come out, when they put the schedule out for those meets, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go into my calendar and I'm going to put it all in because I will not miss one of her events. Okay, and it should be the same way for you. Okay, so family and personal appointments go into your calendar first. The next thing that we need to put into our calendar is pre-work mode, right? I talked about routine on one of the recent episodes. You need to have a morning routine. You need to have a routine that before you start your day, you work on yourself, your spiritual health, your mental health, your physical health, and your emotional health. You need to be a healthy person. In order to do that, you need to have a pre-work mode that goes onto your calendar. You need to define what your morning routine is going to be. So in defining your morning routine, you need to decide what time do I want to get to the office every day? What time am I showing up every day? And then work backwards from there. That might mean you need to get up at 5:30. I have friends that get up at 5 and 5:30 so that they can get through their morning routine. Some people like to get up at 6 or 7. Whatever you do, you need to give yourself that hour and a half to 2 or even 3 hours to get through that morning routine so that you can be a healthy person, spiritually, physically, mentally, and emotionally. All right? So put that morning routine into your calendar and then even break that down. Like in my calendar, I have the YMCA with John. I meet my business partner, John, 3 or 4 days a week, and I put that into my calendar so I know that tomorrow is a day at the Y with John. It is in my calendar. It's part of my routine. And then I give myself the time to come home, spend time in prayer, meditation, reading the Bible. That's what I prefer to do in the morning before I get my day started and come into the office. So second thing that goes onto your calendar is your pre-work mode. Then you need to put in any actions that you need to take to reach goals. Don't have time to get into it today, but I believe you should be setting quarterly goals, no more than 3 goals. And then it's not just about the goal. Like if your goal is to, over the next 12 weeks, lose 10 pounds, or let's just make it easy, lose 12 pounds over the next 12 weeks, 1 pound per week. What do you need to do to lose that weight? Well, those actions that needed to be taken when we look at those actions, those are lead measures. You've got lead measures, you've got lag measures. So the lead measure would be going to the gym, tracking my food. It would be, pre-cooking my meals, right? You might need to make some meals in advance. So you're taking to the office with you so that you're eating the right things, fueling your body the right way during the day. Those things, if I do these 3 things consistently, then I will be able to lose 1 pound a week over the next 12 weeks and be down 12 pounds. Okay, so I like using the weight loss, 1, because I've been going through this myself, but 2, a lot of people are going through these things. So it's those lead measures: going to the gym, time to track my food, time to do my meal prep. Those things actually need to go on your calendar, okay? So those are actions that you are taking for your goals, all right? So first of all, we're doing our personal family appointments, then our pre-work mode, our morning routine, and then the goal actions that need to be on our calendar. We haven't even gotten to work yet, but that's okay because we're putting the most important things on there first. Now, the next thing that goes onto your calendar is connective work, all right? So 5 to 10 hours a week, you should have connective work on your calendar where you are connecting with people. My dad always said, you can't be a secret agent in the real estate business. You have to be continually connecting with people, building relationships. And so you need to schedule the time for that somewhere between 1 and 5 hours every week. I would say you should have some connective work on your calendar every day. Then performance work. While you're connecting with people, you're looking for referrals, you are following up with leads, you're doing all of those things in connecting and building relationships. That should lead to opportunities for performance work. So, let's just say your goal is to get 2 listing appointments every week and to meet with 1 to 2 new buyers every week and then show some homes every week. You might need to schedule anywhere from 5 to 10 hours for performance work every single week. Now, another important thing that we do in our performance work are client home value reports, where you prep a home value report and then get in front of that homeowner and review that with them, provide value to them, tell them where you think their home would come in today's market, and then ask for referral opportunities, ask for opportunities to serve people that they know, like, and trust, just like they know, like, and trust you, right? To make connections. So a client home value report, very important thing to do in performance work. So if you don't have any performance work, like let's just say you don't have any buyers or sellers or opportunities yet, you can always do client home value reports for people and get in front of them in that way, high value. That is your performance work. Try for 5 to 10 hours every week. Then we get into the essential work. That's the stuff that has to be done. That's probably another 5 to 10 hours a week that needs to plug into your calendar. And the last thing is deep work. Now, you don't need quite as much deep work every week. In fact, when I read Cal Newport's Deep Work book, I was like, this is great. And I started using deep work. I do a lot of podcast prep in deep work. The whole Ultimate Success Framework I have developed in deep work. And so there's a lot of preparation that has gone into that, but it's been very focused, undistracted time that I'm doing this work. The thing is that in real estate, we don't need quite as much deep work time, but we do need deep work time. So I would say 3 to 6 hours every week, you should be focused on deep work, doing the things that are going to help you build content, build relationships, or build into you as an agent in the business. The last thing, you got to have some buffer time, right? So I'm the king of booking myself back to back. And when I book myself back to back, I don't give myself time in between. I don't give myself breathing room in between. And so I become overwhelmed, and then I become burnt out. And so if you don't want to be overwhelmed, you don't want to be burnt out, you have to give yourself some buffer time. And so I recommend you should have about an hour of buffer time a day. Now, some days in buffer time, I'll tell you what I do in my buffer times. Some days I'll step outside of the office when it's not 400 degrees outside and humid, but I'll step outside of the office and I'll walk down to the end of our street and walk back. It's about a half-mile walk, usually anywhere from 10 to 15 minutes, depending on how many times I walk the cul-de-sac at the end of the or end of our street. But all of that said, I get out, I get some fresh air, I get some sunshine, and I let my mind relax a little bit. Now, while I'm walking, I might be responding to text messages, I might be deleting some emails, but I'm getting some movement, which helps get my brain moving again, and it kind of helps me decompress and lose some of the stress from the day. So that is certainly something that you can do in buffer time. Now, it might just be that you need 10 minutes to sit down and just respond to a few text messages and emails. Now, that does fall into the essential work. However, in buffer time, it's responding to those things that pop up, that we can get behind very easily on. One of those things might be like a fire, okay? When I say a fire, in this business, like fires come up that we need to put out. We need to make some calls. We need to coordinate something. A seller's got an issue, sprung a leak. They need someone to help them. During your buffer time is a great time to respond to those things and not feel like you're rushed to get into the next appointment and, oh my gosh, I don't know what to do. I don't know how to make this call, make this contact, and don't have time for it, right? Buffer time helps with that. So if you schedule in between key appointments, 15 to 30 minutes of buffer time, or in between work modes, 15 or 30 minutes of buffer time, it'll help you decompress and not feel so stressed. The last thing that we're going to talk about here is on your core calendar, when do you actually do it? Now, I already told you that you need to do your core calendar a month in advance. If you are hearing this for the first time today, I think we're releasing this right here at the beginning of a new month. Go ahead, sit down today and lay out your month, right? Do it on paper. Start on paper, lay out the month, and then plug it all into your phone calendar. But I usually recommend, ideally, that the third week of the month, so you've got 2 weeks before the end of the month, and you've got time to really look at the next month. You haven't started scheduling a lot of appointments into the next month, but this gives you the opportunity to say, okay, what have I been working on? What do I need to work on next month? What are my projects? What kind of content do I need to put out? And then you can look at the calendar and be like, okay, next month, I'm going to record my content. I'm going to do my planning during this time. I'm going to plan every morning from 9 to 11 to do my connective work and start plugging it in. Plug in your performance work so that you can say, okay, my goal is to fill appointments this week every afternoon from 3 to 5, or I'm going to fill from 3 to 5 this day, and I'm going to fill from 5 to 7 another day, because we all know there's evening appointments that happen. But it allows you to take a look at the month in advance and plan, and here's the other thing that I didn't say, plan around those most important things, right? So make sure that you have all of your kids' soccer games. So we're coming into soccer season, football games, whatever it is, make sure that those are on the calendar, because you should never miss something that important, right? And then start filling in the time all around that. So if you know you're going to have a football game every Thursday and you like to attend your kids' practice on, at least 1 or 2 other days every week, great. Then Monday and Tuesday, I'm going to be there for practice, be in the park, maybe take a walk. Maybe you're doing a little bit of connective work while you're sitting there, but then Wednesday and Friday, that those are your times reserved for performance work. Saturday, performance work, right? And then try to take one day off. That's really hard in this business, but try to take a 1 day off as much as possible just to rejuvenate and rest and get yourself fired up to go again that next week. So, third week of the month, that's when I really think you need to look at putting together the core calendar for the next month. So, in the month of August, when we get to that third week, you should be looking at September and saying, okay, let me go ahead and lay out this month in advance so that I know what I'm doing for the month. My plan is in place. And then what you're going to do is look at it weekly and make any adjustments. Things pop up. Listen, life is what life is. Life is crazy. Business is crazy. And you might have someone call you a week before and say, hey, we're coming into town next week and we want to spend a day looking at houses. Okay, well, I'm going to lose my connective work that day. I'm going to lose some deep work that I needed to do. If I'm going to do that, where can I shift these two in order to ensure that I get those in and service a client that's going to be coming into town, right? Okay, so for review, the success pyramid, how you're going to be most successful in this business is managing your time, your most valuable asset, which will help you manage relationships, okay? But we're going to do that by, on the baseline, having our core calendar, plugging in those 4 work modes, along with the other things I talked about in the episode today, so that we know what we're doing for work during the next month. And then the last is the high fives. In the future, I'll cover the high fives, but I will tell you, we're launching the Ultimate Success Framework in September. We don't have the cost of it yet. We are going to be selling it. And so we will let you know what that's going to be at that time. But I promise you, it's going to be high value content that's going to help you take your business to the next level. And I don't think you'll be disappointed with it at all. I've had so much fun putting this together. There's a lot of new content that, because of deep work, I have been able to develop, and I am very excited about it. So yesterday we were actually in the studio recording one of the modules, actually recording this. We're talking about this module and really getting into the 4 modes of work. And man, it's been a lot of fun going through all of this. So I know it's going to be incredibly valuable to you. Last thing I want to say today, usually I try to do this earlier in the podcast, but I want to remind you that the Real Life and Real Estate podcast is being brought to you by Advantage Home Warranty. Recently, I was talking to someone about a home warranty, and my wife was overhearing the conversation. I get off the phone, and Elizabeth says to me, you should just tell them how much easier this has made my life. And I was like, okay. And she said, well, no, it's so nice because it used to be when we didn't have the Advantage Home Warranty that I would call you and be like, hey, we've got to find a plumber for this. And then I'm busy in the middle of the day, but I'm the one with all the contacts. And honestly, I'm the one that usually calls and talks to those people. And then it would be back and forth on trying to figure out the schedule and how we're going to get them out. And, there were all these challenges to it. Now I make one phone call to the home warranty, file the claim. They take care of all of that. They get the contractors out to my house. I don't have to worry about any of it. And I carry one in my own house in case you haven't picked that up, but it has taken away a lot of the stress and we get things fixed a lot faster. So I think on the elite plan, I'm paying a little over $1,000 a year, maybe about $1,200 a year, but I have gotten so much out of it, like way more than I invest into it. And then it's taken a lot of stress away too. So anyway, Advantage Home Warranty, find out more at AdvantageHW.com, AdvantageHW.com for an Advantage Home Warranty. Last thing to remind you today, and I'm terrible about this, let's be honest. I don't talk about the like and subscribe stuff, and everyone says, well, you got to do that for the algorithm. So do me a favor. I know if you made it all the way to the end of the video, you probably should like and subscribe it. So even if you're listening to the podcast right now, go onto YouTube real quick, at It's Mark Peebles. That's at It's Mark Peebles. You'll find our page where we post all of the video for real life and real estate, including Monday Mindsets. And just like and subscribe on our channel. Would you do that, please? That really helps us out. And it'll help us to continue to grow and bring great content like this to you. And then the last thing is, wherever you get your podcast, go ahead and just follow us on the podcast so it automatically downloads every week. So I think that covers it all for today. Hopefully you learned something. You got a little bit out of it. And listen, future upcoming weeks, we've got awesome guests coming on. And I couldn't be more thrilled with the guests that we are landing for this show. You are going to be so inspired over the next few weeks. And as always, it's about inspiring you to live your best life and achieve ultimate success. And I will see you next week with that.